What's good with everyone? It's Reaver. Today I want to start some new Reaver reviews because honestly, 2021 was a bit of a dumpster fire for games. We had three main releases that I want to talk about today. We had Call of Duty Vanguard, we had Battlefield 2042, and Halo Infinite. Those are the three main FPS games we saw this year. And quite frankly, each could be argued that they're both all pretty bad, but I kind of want to come out here and discuss them all today. But I really want to dive into Vanguard first, and I'll pull up some gameplay for sure. But what I first want to get into here today is that what happened with Vanguard, right? So every year we all buy COD and everything, but what happened this year? So Vanguard had a very strong launch, many players playing off the bat, and it had around 24 maps at launch, but it really just did not live up to standards with a World War II theme map, World War II theme game as well, right? I thought it was lacking at a bunch of different areas. It was definitely one of the first CODs I bought in a long time that I didn't enjoy. I thought there was like way too many maps in it. And while all maps had variety, I think they're all pretty bad if we can all agree. Definitely the remake maps like Shipment were the only ones that were really enjoyed by the player base right now. And the game was very buggy at launch. I think we can all really agree on that, is that the game had way too many bugs, and skill-based matchmaking is still a problem for many players. Every COD year we see that skill-based matchmaking gets brought up more and more, right? But especially in this game, is that skill-based matchmaking is incredibly strong. On top of that, with bugs, there's camo progression issues that players are talking about, where camos are not progressing, guns are taking too long to level up, and especially within this game, that's 10 attachments plus you can put on a weapon, it can really get hectic for you, right? But I think the main problem this game has is gunplay. The guns kill incredibly fast, as they do with every year, but especially in this COD game, in this cycle of the game, we see so many times where the attachment meta comes back. And I'm really concerned coming into this year's CDL, which has been announced, right? With the comp scene, when you have 10 attachments on a gun, there's so many different opportunities that open up, but there's also an attachment meta that comes out where you have to use certain attachments to be able to get an advantage, or even certain attachments to win the game. So to me, what really makes sense is to have less attachments on the gun. I thought Black Ops 2 had a great system with two attachments on the gun, but then the gunsmith came in Modern Warfare and every other COD after that. And I think the gunsmith system was quite good, but I don't think it's good for any World War II themed game, to be honest. When you have 10 attachments on guns, some that aren't even historically accurate, you start to run into problems with the player base. Some that don't even enjoy the attachments, and some attachments that are just downright broken. When some guns have over like 50 attachments, you can't bug check them all. Some attachments are going to be broken, and it's something the players have to understand, but in general, it's just extremely buggy to do something like that. Also, the maps were also quite poorly designed. While the layouts are good, the environments are not. We see very dark and dense maps, and other maps with destroyable environments within this game that just downright don't work. There's only a couple maps that the community really does like, but then the rest are just skipped or like absolutely just dodged in any situation. Players do not enjoy half the maps in this game, and it's because this game was completely rushed. Just similar to Cold War, where it was developed in a very short amount of time, I too believe that this game's maps were definitely designed in a short period of time. But what also made sense to me to talk about today was definitely the integration with Warzone. So every year with Warzone, we see the games integrate with different features and things coming to the game. Well, for me, I found it quite difficult to enjoy it this season. Not only were there hectic bugs such as FPS and performance decreases, but the Vanguard guns have completely taken over the game as expected. Every COD cycle we come through in Warzone has overpowered weapons at launch, without a doubt in my mind. But what really takes the cake here is how overpowered these weapons are. Long range, some of these weapons can deal high damage at every range. Some weapons are just a jack of all trades for sure. But the main problem with Vanguard integration is a complete overhaul of the gunsmith system that we saw in Vanguard come to Modern Warfare and Warzone. While Cold War and Modern Warfare guns cannot be used within the system, the attachments within Vanguard weapons incredibly change and vary with Warzone and Vanguard. Some grips do less recoil control than they do in Warzone than in Vanguard, or some scopes look different. There's a whole list of mess that we can go over today, but I'm not going to get into it. Overall, on the positive side, Vanguard had very strong aspects towards it, with a strong campaign and a great ending. However, the zombies mode was not that strong. I think that's something we can all agree on here. That the zombies mode does not have a round-based map yet, even halfway through its cycle, and it took the game half of its lifetime cycle to get a pack-a-punch camo in. Now we have to give props to Treyarch here for even taking a non-Black Ops game to zombies, but we have to realize that this is a AAA title, and these types of things should not be happening. Overall, I'd rate Vanguard a 6 out of 10 this year. However, with post-launch content coming out and everything, I could expect that rating to raise as more bug fixes come out as well. This game is completely plagued by bugs, but I have no assurance that it will do any better. Battlefield 2042, a game that really is. Now, what we originally saw with this game was a decent beta with lots of lag and lots of issues. However, it had strong gameplay with the good new system where you can change attachments on your guns, right? But I really felt that Battlefield came out poorly this time around. In fact, there's more players playing Battlefield 5 right now, to be honest. And the main reason for this is just there's too much. It's way too over-engineered, this game, and it plays out way too slowly. However, the portal system within this game is phenomenal. I find myself time and time again playing the portal mode just simply because of how fun it is. Some players have come up with extremely creative maps and extremely creative things that really tie in towards the portal aspect. I've seen 1942 versus 2042 and a bunch of other different modes. You see, this game has very strong points, but also has very bad points as well. And I could go on and on about how bad those bad points are, but I want to start with the positives. Firstly, with the portal mode, as I mentioned earlier, it's very strong and it's very potent. Some of the modes in there are quite terrible, but others can shine very well. It's a great mixture between Hazard Zone and Big Team Battle, and then you can move in towards Portal. So there's 3 different modes you can play, and each of them are good for blowing off steam in my opinion. In fact, I found myself having fun rotating throughout the 3 modes while I'm playing this game. Another thing I'd like to mention is a Hazard Zone mode, and it's like an Escape from Tarkov type mode, except with a twist where data drives come out of the sky and you have to collect them and extract. So quite similar, however, there are issues that fall through, right? With currency coming throughout each round, you can purchase weapons at the beginning. However, this mode is definitely plagued by performance issues, similar to Vanguard. What we've mainly seen here is performance issues with FPS, and especially on mine with a 2060 and a strong GPU and CPU, I found myself dipping near 70 FPS and peaking at 90. So this game definitely has weak points and strong points, but some of the stronger points are definitely the big team battle modes. With 128 player lobbies, there's no predicting what can happen next, and with strong vehicles this time around, I'm very glad to see these things. The specialists are a bit lame in my opinion, where you can pretty much pull out a rocket launcher even if you're not using an anti-tank class or specialist. With your operator kind of being like a jack of all trades, it's kind of difficult to understand why they do that. However, with specialists coming out, I feel like it's just another way to sell skins in my opinion. We've seen EA do this time and time again. For other strong points, I also did much enjoy some of the bot related modes where you can put in veteran bots. These AIs within this game are very strong, and you get AI and you get bots as well. So there's 2 different types here, but the main thing with these is that you get XP for killing them. And that's something that I really appreciate here, is that you can farm XP in this game with bots. I can hop in a map with easy bots and get low XP, or I can hop in a game with like veteran bots and get much more XP. So it really scales on your skill level and how you want to play the game. Another thing I'd like to mention is the maps. Some of these maps shine a lot, such as one in Antarctica. However, some just are not good at all, like Kaleidoscope. It really depends on your kind of playstyle, but the natural disasters on these maps are often more disruptive than enjoyable. I find myself avoiding them usually, and they often dip your FPS way below 60. Some of the maps on this game are quite good, but I also think that the main issues between them is that they're quite open. We've seen one in the Egyptian map where we see a split between desert and grass with a large wall in between, with very little cover on the desert side. While it is quite rocky on some of these maps, there's no amount of infrastructure on them, which makes it difficult to make plays or camp up anywhere if you'd like to. I did, however, enjoy the weapons in this game. There are over 20 you can select from, and you can level them up as you please. They each have mastery levels and attachments you can place on within the middle of the battle. I think the swapping attachment system is very good, well done. It's very well engineered, and I definitely appreciate it. When I'm in an engagement, I can find myself attaching from a 2x scope to a 4x within seconds, and then attacking the engager. I really enjoy that about this game, is that there's new things, but there's also things that don't quite work. There's over-engineered things, but overall, I definitely think Battlefield 2042 has had a rough start. With low players and very bad reception, I don't see this game coming back anytime soon. A rough launch often leads to a bad ending for any game, specifically Cyberpunk 2077 or even Call of Duty Vanguard. but I definitely think that this game has most potential out of all of them, as more updates are planned. However, I just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel for this game. However, I am open to seeing other updates and see how this game does. On the final note, I'd like to talk about one more thing, which is the natural disaster and destruction. The environments in this game are stunning, however the map designs are not. You can knock down structures and towers with rocket launchers as you could in previous titles. However, in this iteration of the game, you can use the rocket launchers that every character can spawn in with to knock down any structure, which can be very disruptive. When you're using a specialist, you can select any type of lethal you want, including rocket launcher, but why would you not use rocket launcher? The other lethals are not that strong. We see others that are quite potent, but the rocket launcher is the only one you're really going to be using. You can destroy tanks, you can destroy buildings, and you can push sites with it very easily. As I mentioned earlier, I think this game has a lot of potential, but for now it's quite hidden. Now, finally, I'd like to talk about one of the better games this year, which is Halo Infinite. You know, Halo Infinite had a great beginning and a great campaign, but what I mainly think it shined with was its gameplay. The campaign was extremely story driven and incredibly good, with great OST, great writing, and a great storyline overall. The map on the ring is very well done, and I was able to complete it within under 8 hours. This game has campaign and multiplayer at the time being. It also has a ranked mode which has been very well received. The campaign mode, while it does appear to be buggy at first, is very enjoyable. I found myself grinding this out 100% because of how enjoyable it was. Master Chief and the weapon definitely go very well together, and the campaign was incredibly enjoyable. You know, with the new fob system in and the new open world thing, I definitely enjoy it, but I definitely feel like the open world is a bit unnecessary as it took more time to get between objectives. I also found myself going between many similar environments, however it doesn't impact gameplay that much, so I won't mainly speak on it. Now let's speak about gameplay. This is definitely one of the most polished Halo games I've ever played. Not as good as Halo 2, which is a complete masterpiece, but this game shines completely with gameplay. This is without a doubt the best game of 2021 FPS wise. This game shines so well with a lower TTK. It takes longer to kill enemies, but it requires more precision. The weapons within this game are very, very balanced. Some weapons do stronger than others, like the power weapons, and the weaker weapons can still have potential, like the disruptor that can shock vehicles and eject players out of them. I also like the way that multiplayer's maps were made. They're very well done and have a lot of verticality depending on which ones you're playing on. I also really, really liked the way that the guns spawn in on the racks, as they have in previous titles, but they do have a set spawn point depending on the mode, which does allow for memorization and allows you to make more plays with them. I really enjoyed a lot of the aspects of Halo Infinite's multiplayer, but I also love the ranked mode where it separates certain things from the loot pool and casual to competitive. Where you spawn in with an assault rifle within casual, you can spawn in with a battle rifle within competitive. So I definitely feel like the competitive mode is very competitive, and it definitely allows for a lot more gameplay and competing otherwise. There's already been a couple lands and a couple tournaments going on within this game, and I have no doubt that it's going to succeed in the future. I'd also like to touch on some of the issues within this game. Microtransactions are in this game, and it was a bit surprising to see that. There are $24 cosmetics you can purchase in this game that barely do anything. Trails when you're walking, head fires, like there's so many different things I can go over and it's a lot to wrap your head around. However, I do respect them for trying new things. While I don't find myself purchasing anything, there's one main issue that the game faces, which is progression. I think we can all agree, and everyone who's played this game can agree, that progression is a main issue, and it does impact gameplay heavily. It takes a while to level up once in the battle pass, and the more you play, the slower you level up. That's kind of the gameplay curve that they've got going on right now, which is the longer you play, you gain less XP at the end and the beginning. So at the beginning of the game, you will gain 400 XP per game. Towards the end, you'll gain around 100 and maybe even 50 in the end. So it definitely doesn't work out in some ways, but they already have made changes, which is great because 343 is known for being receptive, and I definitely do appreciate that from them. So overall, 2021 had some great games, and I definitely can't wait to see what 2022 has. With some FPS games already being announced, I'm really not sure what to expect, but one thing's for sure is that 2022 is going to be a great year. Thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate it.